It is a 1986 horror novel by American author Stephen King. It was his 22nd book and 18th novel written under his own name. The story follows the experiences of 7 children as they are terrorized by an entity that exploits the fears and phobias of its victims to disguise itself while hunting its prey. It primarily appears in the form of a clown to attract its preferred prey of young children. The novel is told through narratives alternating between 2 time periods, and is largely told in the third-person omniscient mode. It deals with things that eventually became King staples: the power of memory, childhood trauma and its recurrent echoes in adulthood, the ugliness lurking behind a facade of small-town quaintness, and overcoming evil through mutual trust and sacrifice. King has stated that he first conceived the story in 1978, and began writing it in 1981. He also stated that he originally wanted the title character to be a troll like the one in the children's story Three Billy Goats Gruff, but who inhabited the local sewer system rather than just the area beneath one bridge. He also wanted the story to interweave the stories of children and the adults they later become. 1-2. The novel won the British Fantasy Award in 1987, and received nominations for the Locus and World Fantasy Awards that same year. 3 publishers weekly listed it as the best-selling book in the United States in 1986. Citation needed. The film has been adapted into a 1992 miniseries directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, and into a 2017 film directed by Andy Muschietti. Plot: 1957–1958. During a heavy rainstorm in Derry, Maine, 6-year-old Georgie Denbrough is chasing a paper boat down a gutter. The boat is washed down a storm drain to the dismay of Georgie, who had received the boat as a gift from his older brother Bill. Peering into the drain, Georgie sees a pair of glowing yellow eyes. Startled, Georgie is suddenly confronted by a man dressed in a silver clown suit who introduces himself as Mr. Bob Gray, aka Pennywise the Dancing Clown. Pennywise offers Georgie a balloon which he cautiously refuses. However, the clown entices Georgie to reach into the drain to retrieve his boat and then severs his arm, leaving the boy to bleed to death in the gutter. The following June, Ben Hanscom, an overweight 11-year-old boy, is harassed by a gang of bullies led by Henry Bowers. On the last day of school, Hanscom hides from his tormentors in the Barrens, where he befriends Eddie Kasprak, a hypochondriac boy who believes he has asthma, and stuttering Bill Denbrough, George's elder brother who suffers from a stutter and rides on a rusty bike named Silver. The 3 boys later befriend fellow misfits Richie Tozier, Stanley Uris, Beverly Marsh, and Mike Hamlin, who eventually refer to themselves as the Losers Club. As the summer draws on, the losers realize that they have each had an encounter with a seemingly omniscient, alien shape-shifting demonic entity that takes the form of whatever they fear the most: Ben as a mummy, Eddie as a leper, Bill as George's ghost, Richie as a werewolf, Stan as 2 drowned boys, Beverly as a fountain of blood spurting from her bathroom sink, and Mike as a large, vicious, otherworldly bird, one not found in any of Stan's bird-watching books. Due to the unknown origin of the monster, the losers refer to the creature as it and link it with a series of recent child murders, including that of Edward Eddie Corcoran, who was killed by the monster in the form of the Jill Man. Meanwhile, an increasingly unhinged and sadistic Henry Bowers begins focusing his attention on his African-American neighbor, Mike Hamlin, and his father. Henry kills Mike's dog and chases the terrified boy into the Barrens, where he befriends the other losers. Mike tells the losers that he was attacked by it in the form of a flesh-eating bird, and they realize through Mike's picture book that it has been around for hundreds of years. The losers begin to suspect that it has control over Derry due to the number of unsolved disappearances and violent tragedies that go unnoticed or seem forgotten by the adults in the town. One afternoon toward the end of summer, Henry and his gang initiate a rock fight with the losers in the Barrens. The bullies are left defeated and embarrassed, and injured Henry swears revenge on the losers before departing. After further encounters with it in the form of Pennywise and various other manifestations, the losers construct a makeshift American Indian smoke hole which Richie and Mike used to hallucinate its origins. In doing so, they discover that it came to Derry millions of years before in an asteroid-like impact, and that every 27 years it awakens from a slumber underneath the town's sewers, usually after some kind of terrible event or tragedy, to feed on children for a period of 12-16 months. In late July, Eddie is hospitalized after an attack by Henry Bowers and several of his friends. Spying on them, Beverly witnesses one of the bullies, Patrick Hochstetter, trying to empty a refrigerator which he had been using to trap and kill injured animals, only to be killed by it in the form of flying blood-sucking leeches. Later, the losers discover a message from it written in Patrick's blood warning them that it will kill them. After Eddie is released from the hospital with a broken arm, Ben makes 2 silver slugs out of a silver dollar, believing that silver will harm it. At this point the narrative changes and it informs the reader that it existed originally in a void between our universe and others, in a dimension known as the macroverse. It boasts to the reader that it is superior to anything on Earth and confirms that it chooses to prey on children because it believes their fears are easier to interpret in a physical form, which it claims is akin to salting the meat. The kids return to the house on Neibolt Street where Eddie, Bill, and Richie had previously encountered it, and it attacks them in the form of a werewolf. Beverly shoots a slug from Bill's slingshot at the werewolf, injuring it, and causing it to flee back to the sewers. It, now seeing the losers as a threat, manipulates the mind of Henry Bowers, making him kill his violent alcoholic father and providing him with a switchblade. Henry and his 2 closest friends, Victor Vickers and Reginald Belchuggins, follow the losers into the sewers with the intention of killing them. It attacks the 3 bullies in the form of Frankenstein's monster, ripping Vic's head off and mutilating Belch's face. Henry, driven insane, chases the losers and gets lost. He eventually washes out of the sewers into a nearby river and is blamed for all of the child murders. Meanwhile, Bill discovers the ritual of Chud, an ancient ritual that allows him to enter the macroverse to confront it. During the ritual, Bill encounters Maturin, an ancient turtle and the creator of our universe which it vomited up following a stomach ache, who explains that it can only be defeated during a battle of wills. Bill enters the monster's mind through the ritual of Chud and discovers that its true form is a mass of destructive orange lights which it refers to as the Deadlights. With the help of Maturin, Bill is able to defeat it and send it back to its slumber. After the battle, the losers get lost in the sewers until Beverly has sex with all the boys to bring unity back to the group. 6. The losers then swear a blood oath to return to Derry should it return in the future.